OuiShare Radio.
Spread the word, spread the word.
Connecting the OuiShare community around the world. OuiShare Radio.
It's actually a tangible way of changing our lives.
And we're back for another OuiShare Radio and our POC 21 special as Justina guides a very blind Bernie Mitchell through the tunnels of Makerverse. So in the last episode, we spoke about what open source is and Linux and how that all that fits together. So definitely go back and listen to that. And now I just want to quiz Justina on how POC came about. It's really, really exciting. There's a movie which we'll put a link in the show notes of every episode that you can watch, which tells a story. But where did the idea actually come from? And good morning, Justina. Sorry, I always forget that. Jak się masz?
Hey, Bernie. I'm fine. Bardzo dobrze. Glad to be talking to you. It's actually a good exercise for me to, explain things. I don't actually have that much occasion to explain my head, what's happening in my head to others apart from giving talks that are very often very scripted. So what do you want to know? How POC came together?
Yeah, is it something you've been wanting to do for years and years and years? And who were the?
I can only speak for myself. I will try to tell a few stories at the same time and be quick. But I will mainly speak from my point of view. But POC we call it co-funded. Idea came from 5 people. So me. Well, I should not start by myself. Benjamin from OuiShare being my kind of OuiShare partner in crime, and 3 guys from Germany from a collective called OpenSafe, Dominic Vent, Daniel, and Simon. And we kind of all had similar things happening in our heads. We all were thinking already along same narrative, but we were kind of tackling it from different, we were entering through different doors, having different experiences and different jobs that we were doing before. So, for me, it was just like an evolution of an idea that I had for a very long time, that's very much linked with, Fab Labs. Which are those, fabrication facilities or other called, different sorts of maker spaces. And particularly my crush that I had on a location in Barcelona that's called Valdaura, which is basically like a really cool green Fab Lab. It's a hacker space or maker space. It is exactly a Fab Lab. That is focusing on sustainability and kind of links technology and sustainability. And I really wanted to kind of implement this in different locations and in a way support those guys because, it's not that easy to run such a place. And, WikiHouse being an open source hardware project, that sometimes, for me personally, kind of talking to people, I had a hard time explaining what it was because it was like, so you're open source, and but why are you open source? How do you make money? People had a hard time thinking about investing their time and money.
Does it get a bit boring answering that question all the time? Open source, how do you make money?
Yeah, it does, but there is no answer. Like there is so you earn this and you have to develop that. So we are testing, so the answer changes every time. So I said, well, how can you? And I met a person that was an owner of a castle in the French countryside who was very much supporting all those things. And I say, hey, how about trying to develop this green Fab Lab idea into, in a castle. And I talked about that concept with my friend Ben, who has already been in touch with the boys from Open States. They had, there are those guys in Germany that are kind of trying to do a similar thing. How about we work with them on that? And then we all kind of realized that there is this big thing called COP21, which is the climate conference that took place in Paris last December, November, December. And we were like, well, all those people that are going to come together and talk about climate issues, flying from all those countries, what are they going to really actively do? But then we kind of see, well, but we can, in a way, bring together all the people we know or we heard of, or we can, reach, and invite into a location that will, help them improve what they're already working on, and help communicate to a big public and take part in an active way in this climate discussion. And then we kind of mixed all our ideas together, the Green Fab Lab, this beautiful venue that was the 17th century castle, all the networks we've had, all the open source and hardware network with OuiShare network, and German more NGOs connections. And we built this innovation camp around open source green tech.
So how long did it take to, I think it took a year, but how long did it take to get from let's do this to we're standing in the castle ready to go?
A little bit more than a year. It was, a little bit more than a year, but let's just make it simple. At the very beginning, it was just 5 people being extremely determined that they will, raise 1 million in a year. And then slowly getting, more and more stressed, while the funding was not necessarily coming in as quickly as hoped for, into building the team once the funding got somehow fixed. Building a team, and from 5 going into the team of 30, and then during 5 weeks into a team of 100. It took exactly a year, with the growth of the team. The closer we were getting in, to the event itself, the more we were in a team.
So did you have to raise €1 million to get it going, or did you? How did that? Did you met someone with a castle, and then you met someone with €1 million, and then that was it?
Yeah, well, the castle was for sure something. Well, we rented the castle, so it was a very good communication, tool, because it's beautiful. And so the castle was a good start, because we had a good price for what it was. And then we had to convince basically as many people we could to become partners for the project. So we had to basically pitch open source hardware camp to people that sometimes never heard about neither open source, nor did they think about COP21 before. And then slowly finding, foundations and companies and convincing public institutions. We did raise around 900,000 euros, and part of the money was in kind sponsorships through the Fab Lab, being, machinery, tools, and materials. So it was around 900,000 euros.
I imagine that feels like it could have been really hard work, going around pitching people and trying to get the idea going. Like I never had to raise that much, but whenever I've had to raise anything, that's the bit I find exhausting and quite dark.
it is. And, I'm not a fundraising expert. Ben is really good at that. But I've learned, we all learned, like 5 of us, Simon, Dominic, Daniel, me, we all had to, but as we really believed in what we were doing, and I think what we were doing was never been done before. And what we were doing was just a positive answer to a very depressing topic, and a call for action and something tangible. And it had 12 projects that were being accelerated, and the outcomes were very sure. It was pretty, finally at the end, when you think about that, it was not that hard, because we kind of managed to raise the money, but we were also offering something pretty incredible, which was basically bringing people for 5 weeks and funding their prototypes, giving them the tools that they needed, giving them the mentorship that they couldn't have gotten a different location, feeding them and giving them accommodation for free. So that is a lot that we were offering.
So did people is invest the right word? Did people invest or sponsor it because they were like, I would have given you money because I'm so pissed off with the people who meet in COP21, for the last 20 years, talking about how to not screw up the world, and they still haven't managed to do anything. So there would have been, maybe it's a negative emotion, but there would have been a sort of form of retaliation there of like, I'd much rather give you, invest in what you're doing than invest in another champagne party and limousine in there.
Well, I'm not that negative. I mean, I really, really appreciate, what like COP21 is about, and I think it's a job for those people. I'm perfectly, fine with what they do. I don't want to even touch, the complexity of the political and things that are happening out there. But I think being able to see tangible things and young people being positive about that topic, and sort of this birthplace of a maker lifestyle, that what we were suggesting was not, some might consider it being an activism. Yeah, it is a form of activism. Someone would consider it, alternative. Someone would consider it, there's hippies or there's anarchists. I don't know. But actually what we were doing was just a very normal thing. And we were treating it as a normal thing. And we were talking about it like, it's not alternative. It's the new normal. And we're saying, hey, just talking about this and being active, it is just cool and normal. And I think giving this normality feeling to all that, what was convincing quite a lot of people, because we were not those, you have to now feel guilty for all those things that you do wrong every day. It's like, well, please try to understand how things work. And once you're going to understand how they work, you're going to, your way of thinking is going to change, and you're going to be more responsible. And also by understanding how things work, you can improve them. And if you improve, then you can share your improvement with everybody else.
I think that's a really good way of putting it, because I don't feel the things like POC, get it confusing. Things like POC21 and looking at all the photos and watching the video and everything, it reminds me of my parents and my grandparents who used to fix things, like used to fix cars and make things. And my uncle would grow. All my uncles actually and my grandparents were really good at gardening, and I remembered it when I was a child, but I don't remember, just go to the supermarket now. And it's getting more connected with doing stuff and the journey of your food and equipment?
Yeah, when I think about that, and the more you know, I mean, it's quite scary. The more you know, the more questions you're asking yourself. You're like, oh, yeah, but why does it work that way? But why does my computer run on electricity? Why doesn't it work on, I don't know, nitrogen? There are so many ways of producing energy, different than, just producing electricity. There are so many questions you're going to ask yourself, and you're going to become curious about the world around you. You will not be this. This is what POC was about, by being, busting curiosity in this society and changing us from, trying to change us from being this a passive consumer that, listens to what people say is, the best product with, the most known actor on the advertisement, to, hey, well, how does that work? And how am I getting this coffee on my table? Where does the coffee beans come from? Something like this. And then trying to once understand shower loop, for example. It's a good example, shower loop being this circular shower that is reusing the same water in a closed cycle. Once you understand this, then you go like, well, but then why doesn't my sink, work the same way? Why doesn't my toilet work the same way? And then you start to see everything that's behind the front end, and you kind of start to understand what's happening on the back end of things. And then you can, and then you can suggest how things may work so that it works good for your needs.
So how did you end up in this world of, because I've always thought you've got a huge curiosity about you, and how did you get into the making things, finding out how things work and gluing things together? And
I always was. It's, when I was a little girl, my dad, the first toys I had was not a Barbie doll, was a little battery and a little light bulb. And I would spend so much time, connecting this stupid little light bulb with this little, battery. Hey, lights on. And because my dad is a sort of an inventor. So I say sort of an inventor because he's a weekend inventor. And like, because I'm from Poland. So for those of you that don't know, because I'm born in 1983. So when I was born, it was still communism in Poland. And, we were kind of late to the story of consumerism. And when the first TVs came on the market, they were so expensive in Poland that my dad just decided to build his own TV. So he would just build TVs at home.
Wow.
And while he was building TVs, I was sitting next to my dad and I was like, hey, Dad, what's that? And then he would just give me, when I was 4, I would be soldering stuff with my dad. And, that was just something that I've learned since I was a little kid, was knowing how a TV is built. Or my dad would just, those dads that are like MacGyvers?
Yep.
Yeah. So that was my dad. And then I was the little MacGyver. That's how I got into that.
I always feel very inadequate next to my dad around this, because he can, he's just in this area, because he can take an engine apart and put it back together again, and it's always fixing the car. I think he actually likes breaking the car so he can fix it, but I'm only just plucking up the energy to drill a hole to put a curtain up in our house. So we're gonna draw this episode to a close now, and we will. So just to be really open source with you, the listener, we're going to go away, listen to this, and then I'm going to come back with some more questions and continue our story with Justina. While people are listening, where's the best place to find you, or what are you doing at OuiShare Fest? What's the next point of connection with what you're doing?
Well, I think OuiShare Fest is a good one. So I will be somewhere around what we call the Fest Forward, which is a part of OuiShare Fest, which is accelerating open source projects that have social impact. So I will be really glad to meet people at OuiShare Fest. And for those who are around the Lille in France, it's going to be sharing Lille on the 21st of April. And soon in London, I hope.
Yeah, always welcome here at Work Hub's or 90 Maynard. But I'll put a link to the show notes and that. Thanks for listening, everyone, and tune into other episodes. And we'll be back with Justina in a couple of weeks. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.